Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. Daniel McAdams is with me this morning. Good to see you, Daniel.
Happy Monday, Dr. Paul.
Good. Guess what I want to talk about? Gold. Maybe we're on our way to the gold standard. But under the circumstances of the recent article that we're going to talk about, I'm not so sure this is the road to the gold standard. And that has to do with this major one-hour video put out by the Islamic State. And they actually used some truths about gold and paper money in order to promote their version of the gold standard. Did you happen to come across this video? I mean, it was pretty amazing.
I think it was in some ways it was very chilling because if this was indeed an ISIS video, it's claimed as, and I'm pretty skeptical about a lot of these things because I think propaganda is so powerful these days. But if indeed it is what it is, it makes a very accurate, as someone who's followed you as a non-expert, myself following you as an expert for so many years, learning so much, it sounds almost like some of your teachings.
Well, yes, and the big thing here is Islamic State talking about a gold standard, putting a lot of stuff in their video that sounds very reasonable, and that paper money is bad, which is something we've talked about for many years. But who has the greatest interest in taking gold and discrediting gold? Well, it's our government, and especially it's the Federal Reserve. And we've talked about the history of 100 years. What they've done, they've destroyed the dollar, promoted paper money, and they always tax gold. They always go after gold. And right now, this conspiracy part of this, if there is such a thing, is that the gold standard is something that ISIS wants, so therefore it has to be bad. And there's the implication, too, that they have advocated the circulation of the old Islamic gold dinar. And anything associated with ISIS, except when our CIA is involved, anything associated with ISIS is considered bad. So it's not a big stretch to think that if you and I, or two Americans someplace in the world, started exchanging gold dinars, that we could be in trouble with our own government.
Certainly, if you look at the authorization for force after 9/11, the authorization for the National Defense Act, and these sorts of things.
How they stretch it.
Yeah, but the thing that struck me is, there was an appearance by you in the video, and that was pretty chilling in a way.
There's a dollar crisis out there, and people's money is being stolen. People who have saved, they're being robbed. I mean, if you have a devaluation of the dollar at 10%, people have been robbed of 10%.
But looking at it as if I was analyzing propaganda, it essentially says to me that, and maybe this is way out there, but this is no longer an analyst explaining what will happen, but you being drawn in and shown into it, as well as several other hard money and Austrians that are in the video. You're shown as being complicit in the downfall of the U.S. currency system, as if you're a supporter somehow.
Actually, you can read that into it. You really don't know, but it's probably pretty logical to think that. But then if the attack is on gold and Austrian economics, then, there was certainly, a concerted effort to keep the ideas of the gold standard and Austrian economics out of the news. It never became, an issue in the campaign in the ordinary media, and because their goal is power and their goal is controlling the monetary system. And I think they know, the establishment knows, what we know, and probably what ISIS knows, that the dollar is destined to self-destruct. But to associate that with ISIS is really where the leap comes. And I think the one thing that they used as a justification for gold was the Quran, and they've been saying, that it's in the Quran that gold should be used. But it's in most religions, Judaism and Christianity and honest weights and measures. It's a religious principle, so that's not a big stretch. But to paint a group of people, which is what our government has done for so long, is to discredit. And how much have they been involved? Our government been involved in the gold market. So our government in the West sets themselves up for attacks like this because, of course, we had our gold taken from us illegally in the 1930s, and gold was propped up and artificially priced. It probably still is, and yet they have to save the paper money. So in that sense, our government And our Federal Reserve has opened up the door for this type of insinuations, you know, that this is America, you know, a problem, and therefore we are the only ones that can solve it. But then they bring in Austrian economics and free market people saying that, you know, that we might advocate something different. But then the guilt by association comes up, and that's where the danger comes in. What might they do to us?